Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble. As always, my pleasure to come to you this evening. And I am again joined by my co-host, Evan Watallison. And just so you guys know, we are going to try and have this show co-hosted every evening. So, Evan, I'm glad that you and I are going to try and work that out because I love chatting with you, bud.
As am I. Love doing this when we do it Tuesday, Thursdays. I'm glad we can extend it some more.
Yeah, I mean, like you and I talked about, as long as we can find the time every night to do it, I think the listeners like the co-hosting. But I'll tell you what, bud, I woke up this morning like I normally do. Actually, first snowfall in Pittsburgh today. Unbelievable.
We had here yesterday.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I watched my lovely weather lady and my lovely traffic lady while I was watching, having my coffee, and it didn't matter which way I went today. I was delayed. But before that, when I was having my coffee, I flipped back to Sports Center and I saw the report. Packers are ready to make an offer to Matt Flynn. I'm sorry. And so, tell me what we know about that. What's going on there?
Well, it hasn't, been made official yet, and the reason why that is they have to make a corresponding roster move when they name him to the team. The corresponding roster move is going to more than likely be Seneca Wallace being placed on the IR. And I'm guessing the reason why it hasn't been made yet, because, you think it would be as simple as, okay, Seneca Wallace is going to the IR. They're possibly trying to reach an injury settlement with Wallace. So I'm sure once that gets done, either later today or tomorrow morning, they will officially announce it to the media that Matt Flynn has in fact signed a deal and Seneca Wallace has been placed on the IR. So we'll see what happens, and it's a very interesting move, especially with what we know about Matt Flynn right now. He couldn't stick it out. He got beat out by Russell Wilson in Seattle, couldn't beat out Terrell Pryor in Oakland, and then couldn't stick it out in Buffalo when they had a huge quarterback mess with E.J. Manuel, and then Thaddeus Lewis being out. So it's a very interesting roster move, in my opinion.
Yeah, very interesting. And you and I had talked about this. We didn't think we needed to have Flynn in, but that was also, when we're looking at it, Wallace is hurt. And the way that our quarterbacks have been going down, I mean, if for some reason Tolzien would go down, what are we going to go to? I mean, on Sunday, the emergency quarterback was John Kuhn.
Yeah.
And what do you do then? I mean, then you can do nothing. So the way I look at this, Evan, and you can chime in, the thing I see with Flynn is at least he'll bring in a little bit of the knowledge of the system. Maybe some of the terminology has changed, but I also think he'll be able to help prepare Tolzien for the game. I mean, he is a veteran. He's been around. I'm not really caring about his level of play right now unless he has to get into the game. I don't want to see Matt Flynn in the game. I think Scott Tolzien has proven in one game, to me at least, that he's the guy we should stick with until Aaron Rodgers comes back. Because of the knowledge Flynn has, he's going to be able to prepare Tolzien, and we just got to keep him healthy. So you can chime in on how you feel Flynn will fit into this rotation. But I think it's a good move from a standpoint of just his presence in the locker room and being around Tolzien to help him prepare.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head on why it was Matt Flynn that they signed rather than anyone else that's out there, because Matt Flynn's familiar with the team, he's familiar with the players, he's familiar with the coaching staff, he's familiar with the system, which, some of the terminology has changed as Josh Sitton was on a local show here on WSSP called The Big Show. He was their guest today, and he was commenting, him and Flynn were talking, and, the terminology is a little, there are some words that are different, but overall it's pretty much the same system that Flynn's familiar with. So basically they're bringing Matt Flynn in case either A, Scott Tolzien doesn't perform very well against the Giants, or B, heaven forbid, we've had enough injuries, something were to happen to Scott Tolzien that he couldn't finish the game. So you nailed it right on the head while they're bringing him. It's just the knowledge that he has. But if Matt Flynn does have to go into the game, that's where I'm worried, for the fact that the reason why it was said that he was couldn't make win the starting job when it's bouncing around and no one would touch him is a bad elbow, which Matt Flynn says the elbow's fine. but how's that elbow going to react if forced into action? So, they've got it because of the knowledge, and obviously, like you said, he could prepare and help prepare, Scott Tolzien. So that's probably the biggest reason right there, but I hope he doesn't have to play Sunday.
Well, I'm going to expand on what you just said there about an elbow injury. And in Matt Flynn's defense, I sure hope he had an elbow injury, because if I'm a quarterback and I go sign a huge contract and a draft pick named Russell Wilson comes in and beats me out based on pure talent, and then I get traded to Oakland and I get beaten out by Terrell Pryor, and then I get cut and I go to Buffalo and I can't beat out their third-string quarterback, his psyche has got to be in the gutter. So in his defense, I hope it's an elbow injury, because if it's based on pure skill, then I don't know if I want him playing. If he can't even quarterback, I mean, Russell Wilson is a little bit different. I think he surprised everybody, and maybe I'm okay with that. And you and I talked about it. I know why Terrell Pryor beat him out is because the offensive line was terrible, and Matt Flynn is not mobile. But he had one more chance in Buffalo, and I really thought when they signed him, I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to see Matt Flynn in the game. He didn't even sniff the field, Evan. So
no, he didn't.
I hope it was an elbow injury that caused him to not win any of these jobs, to be honest. Yeah. And like you.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, I say, Seattle overvalued him because they saw what he did against Detroit, and they about crapped their pants. Like, holy crap, this is the next coming, in regards to great quarterbacking. But, Mike McCarthy is very good at maximizing quarterbacks' talents. He maximized Matt Flynn in Green Bay. So I think that's another reason why it's a good fit for Matt Flynn coming back to Green Bay, because, Matt Flynn is nothing special. He's not. And, he was a 7th-round pick out of LSU for a reason. He didn't start much at LSU for a reason. He's not this great quarterback, but he fit what McCarthy wanted to do, and McCarthy maximized his abilities. Unfortunately, it didn't work out with Graham Harrell and B.J. Coleman, but that's the reason why Matt Flynn was successful. It wasn't that Matt Flynn is this great quarterback, and the elbow injuries didn't help, but, he didn't have a guy by the name of Mike McCarthy in Oakland or Seattle with him.
Exactly. So I think we're both in agreement. No Matt Flynn on the field, and the only way he should get on the field is if Scott Tolzien gets hurt.
Or is extremely ineffective.
And I don't think he's going to be ineffective, because I'm going to go back again to what you're saying. Mike McCarthy can coach quarterbacks. And he can put them in positions to be successful. We didn't see a lot of Seneca Wallace in the game because he got hurt early, but you and I had talked about the game plan, and what I saw before he hurt the groin is he hurt the groin on rolling the pocket and getting outside. McCarthy was going to put together a game plan that's going to make Tolzien successful on Sunday against the Giants. And
Wallace completed his first 3 passes of the game, but they were good throws.
Yeah.
They were right on the money. They were great throws. They weren't high. They weren't low. They were perfect. And then the 4th pass of the game, he got hurt on a rollout, which he was pretty much just throwing the ball away. And, he was no longer mobile, and that's what you need from Seneca Wallace. Exactly.
So I'm in total agreement with you there. So let's talk about the rumors that they're still bringing other quarterbacks in, though. I heard that Skelton's going to be due in Green Bay for a tryout.
I've heard the same thing. I haven't heard if they canceled the tryout or not, since they've come to the agreement with Matt Flynn going to be the guy. And if they haven't, that concerns me a little bit, because you have Tolzien, you have Flynn. Why do you need another quarterback unless, number 12's not going to be quite ready when they say he's going to be? They're saying 4 to 6 weeks. Well, is it more like 8 to 12 weeks? That's the question I have. Is number 12 going to be out longer than they think? Do they think that he won't be back? And is that why they're trying to find an emergency guy? I hope it was just they're bringing him in case Matt Flynn wasn't the guy. But it makes me scratch my head if, in fact, they are still bringing him in.
Well, I would have to say, Evan, I don't believe it's because Matt Flynn's not the guy, because it would contradict everything we just said.
And I would say not the guy due to health.
Yeah, well, that could be. Maybe they're not sure on that, but you would think that our doctors are smart enough to say that in the physical, that hey, this arm and that workout were not good enough. And like you said, they haven't officially signed him yet, but we think that's based on the roster move. But I'm on the side that you are at. You know, I have injured, and I don't know if you knew this. I dislocated my shoulder
No, I did not.
8 times playing soccer in the same season. And I couldn't medical redshirt because I'd already redshirted, and there's half the season left. A shoulder injury, even though it's the non-throwing shoulder, that totally throws off your balance. And it is a painful injury. Mine was a dislocation, not a broken collarbone. But with having a shoulder injury, you have to have, and as much as Rodgers has to, roll out of tackles and make the body movements,
take shots to that left shoulder.
That thing needs to be healed 100% for him to be able to be effective. I mean, you can't just wrap up a broken collarbone and say go out there and play. And so
fans realize that.
And I don't think they are. I mean, we're trying to be optimistic, right, Evan?
Yeah, we are.
But the thing is that I think this is going to be an injury that's going to take him almost to the end of the season. And I don't want to say that, and I hope he comes back for Detroit, but I don't think that's happening. I mean, that's just the feeling I have because they've not released the extent of the injury.
No, and the Packers are very cautious on injuries to begin with, and they're very cautious of what they release to the media too. Like, they're saying that, I'm trying to remember it. There's an injury last year, that they were saying would keep them out, a short amount of time, and they ended up missing a lot longer. And then, Casey Hayward with his hamstring injuries, he's close, and he misses like the first 8 games of the year.
Yep.
So they're very cautious on having people return from injuries. So there is that, and they're also very careful on what kind of information they release. Like the Rodgers went down in the Monday night game when they came out and said that he was questionable to return. I knew he was done for the game. But any time the Packers say someone's questionable, assume they're out.
Yeah, I mean, you hit that one on the head. It's hard to get anything out of Green Bay when it comes to injuries, and so.
Well, he's almost as bad as that guy in New England.
We're gonna leave it at that. We're gonna leave it as the guy in New England. That's about as far as we have. Yeah, that's as far as we got to go with that one. But I look at it from the standpoint that we just, as they look at free agents, offensively though, you and I have talked about this. We tweeted it today, and we had a lot of Twitter interaction today. You and myself. And it was.
And there's something on Twitter I'd like to ask you if you finish your thought, but there's one question on Twitter I'd like to ask you about regarding someone that got released today. So finish your thought, and then we can. I can ask you this question. Yeah,
I mean, and I know where you're going with this. And again, I just want to thank everyone that listens for the Twitter interaction. Evan and I love to tweet, and we'll throw out as much as we can in 140 characters. And now that we're going to try to co-host this show every night together, we'll probably be able to expand on a lot of your tweets. So keep them coming. Evan and I love to tweet about our show, and we will definitely talk about it later that night or at worst the next day. Because, Evan, I don't see us going 2 days without doing this in a row.
No, I don't either.
We're working a schedule out where we're going to be able to get this out as co-hosts every night, and I love it. But let's move now into, we had a tweet today that offensively, we're talking about the quarterbacks, but it came up about the D. The defense has to do more. You and I have talked about this. We've got to create turnovers. We've got to get pressure on the quarterback. Those are things that we have to do along with tackling. So as we're doing that and we're talking about free agents, should we look for someone else? Should we look defensively for playmakers? What should we do?
Well, a question I have for you, and perfect time to bring this up. The Houston Texans today released Ed Reed. And from all reports, it wasn't that they released him due to health. They released him due to him being openly critical about the coaching staff. Now, if Ed Reed can be 80% of the player that he was in Baltimore, and we know what Ed Reed was in Baltimore, he was a guy that had a nose for the football. He intercepted balls, forced fumbles, punched. He had a nose for the football. He's right up there in that category with Palomalu, with Charles Woodson, with Charles Tillman. Now, same about, you mentioned what the defense is lacking, turnovers, tackling, pass rushing. Two of those areas could be corrected by possibly bringing in Ed Reed. Now, I don't think Ted Thompson would do this because this is not in his character, but do you think it's worth giving Ed Reed a look to help try to fix his defense up a little bit?
Definitely. I believe that it would be worth the risk right now. I mean, Ed Reed, we know, is a Hall of Fame player. But when I look at the young players we have in the secondary, and I'm going to call them young, even Morgan Burnett is still a young guy to me. But I'm going to tell you one thing, Evan. Now, whether or not Ed Reed would have been in position, that Deshaun Jackson touchdown that got tipped up in the air and he scored a touchdown, Ed Reed is either knocking that ball down or he's catching it. Now, again,
or he's killing the receiver.
Yeah. My thing is, I don't know if he would have been able to keep up with him. I think he's lost a step.
Yeah.
But like you said, this release today was not due to health. And if I was in Texas anyway, I can't believe more people aren't critical. That team was a preseason favorite to make a run for the Super Bowl. I don't know what the heck.
They were my preseason Super Bowl pick along with Green Bay.
I don't know what's going on down there, and I know we can definitely talk about it later in the week, and we may when we start talking more about NFL as a whole. But something's going on in Texas, and Ed Reed has never been one to keep his mouth shut. I believe, though, Ed Reed could bring a lot to the locker room, because when I look at the play of our secondary, I can't remember the last interception we had. Can you?
House had one in Cleveland, and before that, it was. Good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
They haven't the whole year.
And we're not going to win games if we can't get turnovers. That is almost a fact that you need to turn the ball over if you're going to win. I also think, we talk about a veteran. That Capers loves to bring that safety up and get that blitz going and stop the run. And I think Ed Reed can still do that too.
I think so.
So I think it's worth the risk, but like you said, I would say it's probably about 90% to 10% that Ted Thompson pulls the trigger and does that because he's going to have the faith in the young guys. But I'm telling you what, even with all the injuries and everything that we discuss, look at our division. We're still in a great position to win this division. And this is almost reminding me of when we won the Super Bowl. We had that lull in the middle of the season. We lost those 3 games, and then we had to win. And if we look at Aaron Rodgers coming back and Randall Cobb coming back, getting everyone healthy again, when will that be? That will probably be a month from now?
More than about a month. Cobb's set to come off the IR the week that they play the Cowboys, which is December 15th. And if I was a betting man, I'm holding out hope that Rodgers can be back for Atlanta. But if I was a betting man, that will be the week that Rodgers comes back as well.
And so all of us,
we're not out of it by then.
And that's what I'm saying. We've got to make some moves to stay in it because we can still hang in this division. I mean, we're only 1 game out behind the Lions, and we've already beaten the Lions. And we have a big game coming up against the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. If we beat the Lions that day, that gives us a great chance to win the division. And so you asked me the question. I say definitely I think it would be a great move to bring a veteran in because think about our secondary. Where's the leadership back there, Evan?
There isn't any.
I mean, Morgan Burnett has been thrust into that leadership role, but when did he play his...
He had the worst game of the season yesterday.
exactly where I was going with this. When did he?
Sunday.
When did he play his best football?
When he had a reliable safety next to him that was playing well.
Exactly. He had veteran leadership around him. And now I'm not saying that he won't evolve into that veteran leader, but right now he's not the leader. There's no leader in the secondary. And so
the guy they needed to step up to be that leader is Tremont Williams, and unfortunately he hasn't.
Well, I'm looking at, and now that we know how to post videos over 15 minutes, I'll just even go into that. I mean, our show is all about Packer talk and rambling, right?
Yeah, so far.
So far. We don't have a producer to cut us off. So I'm not impressed with Tremont Williams this year. I think he's stinking the joint up. I mean, I just don't know what's going on with the guy. The guy had so much promise when he was younger. Our Super Bowl run. And then, I think we even talked about this in a ramble, he got hurt and hasn't been the same. I am very disappointed with Tremont Williams.
Yeah, well, fortunately, Tremont Williams, and you're going to think I'm nuts for saying this, but Tremont Williams' biggest issue Sunday wasn't coverage. He was actually in good position on most of the day in regards to coverage. Like both catches that he had over him, he was trying to make a play on the ball, trying to get an interception.
Yeah.
Now, what Williams did not do well Sunday, and at least he was making an attempt at it, is he wasn't tackling well.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't really been that same guy since he got hurt.
I think he doesn't want to get hurt again. I mean, that's what I see. I mean, that's just what I see. And by the way, I think you're crazy every day, so it doesn't matter what you say. I'm still going to think you're crazy. I mean, both of us are crazy. I put on Twitter today, I'm just an idiot with an opinion, and I'm okay with that. You know,
Yeah.
You're the guy with the facts. I'm just the idiot with an opinion, and I'm quite all right with that.
I'm sure saying that Williams did pretty good on Sunday is probably going to have a lot of people calling me an idiot now.
Well, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's frustration, and when you look at it, I think we need somebody to rally the troops. And what a better guy than Ed Reed. I mean, and you know what? Even if he's 80%, even if he's old and this is his last year, I mean, the reason he went to Houston, I mean, yeah, the Ravens weren't going to re-sign him, right? But he ultimately was shopping because he wanted a chance to go back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And if he really does his homework, this Packers team, and again, now people are going to think I'm crazy. Why can't we make a run at the Super Bowl? Somebody tell me why we can't if Rodgers comes back. But if Rodgers comes back and we stay in the playoff race, why can't we make a run at the Super Bowl?
We definitely can. If you look at the NFC, it's wide open. The only team in the NFC that's really been standing out is the Saints.
Exactly.
And now the Panthers are starting to make a pretty big run. I'm sorry, the Seahawks.
Yeah, well,
the Seahawks are the only two teams that have really stood out.
But,
the 49ers are struggling right now. The Panthers are hot right now. And no one in the NFC East seems to want to make the playoffs.
No,
so the NFC is wide open outside of the Saints, the Panthers, and the Seahawks. The NFC is wide open.
Yeah, and
for anybody to take it.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to look at the playoffs. The playoffs, it doesn't matter what you do in the first 16 games. It's one game.
No.
And, we may be struggling right now, and I know Packer fans, I've heard Packer fans say we're done. I've heard other teams say we're done. That's fine, say we're done. But you know what?
Yeah.
When we make a run at the playoffs, keep your hands under your butt and don't cheer then. Because why are you losing hope now? I mean, the things that you and I are talking about, and I shouldn't say they're easy things to fix, but the tackling, I mean, that to me is a mental aspect of the game. Getting pressure on the quarterback, okay, well, is it about the scheme? You and I talked about it last night. It very well could be. Maybe we change the scheme up a little bit. We tighten up the defense a little bit. Because offensively, and I'll go back to this real quick, and I'm looking at the clock, 25 minutes, which is okay. I mean, we're not even strapped for time anymore, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But offensively...
I still got a bit of a drive still left. I still have about 20 minutes on my drive to Madison for the Packer basketball game, so we can keep rolling if you don't mind waiting to upload it.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind.
The time it needs to upload it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I mean, the poor listeners will probably get sick of our voice if we start going too much longer. But
yeah, That's true.
But the things we're talking about can be fixed. We have talent there, and it's, I think the fans and the listeners might think we're being really critical about our team and the young guys, and we're really not. We're just missing some pieces. And
we're missing a lot of key pieces across the board, or the key pieces of sense, like Matthews.
Yeah, and the thing is, once these key pieces come back into play, we're going to be okay. We just need to weather the storm from now until we get our guy back. And we all know the team goes as Aaron Rodgers has been going.
Yeah.
And we just need to find a way to weather the storm, get some confidence in this team so that we can go through the next few weeks and just stay in the hunt. Because we're only a game out, and I don't think people realize that.
This should probably be the final point we'll make. If you look at the last 3 Super Bowl champions, and you look at the Packers, the Giants, the Ravens, but the thing that the 3 teams have in common is they got hot at the right time. They were, granted, neither team lost their starting quarterback for more than a game. Rodgers missed a game back in 2010 with that concussion, and he missed parts of 2 others. But all 3 of those teams got hot right at the right time. Key guys came back from injury. Things just fell into place, and they won into the Super Bowl, and they won it.
Exactly.
And, the Packers just need to get healthy at the right time and get hot at the right time.
Yep. And, even when they're healthy, you and I are going to be critical. That's what we do best.
Yeah.
That's what we do best. We get critical and we nitpick. And that's just because we can. We can do that. But I agree with you 100%. These teams, the teams that get hot at the end of the year, like you're saying, the Panthers are hot now. Are they going to be hot 7 weeks from now? And there may be another, team that comes out of that NFC that gets hot at the right time. And and again, that's why I'm saying, why can't it be the Packers?
And if you look at their running game with Lacey, and obviously the health of the offensive line depends on that quite a bit. We don't know how significant Evan Diedrich-Smith and Barclay's injuries are. So that could really, tell where the offensive line goes from here. But with the way the offensive line's been blocking, with Eddie Lacy, with the receiving core, if that defense can step it up like we know they can, why can't it be us? I don't see any reason why it couldn't be the Packers.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, Packer Nation, have some faith. And we're not being crazy fans. I know Evan and I are crazy, but we're not being these crazy, unrealistic fans saying, oh, yeah, we're always going to win the Super Bowl. We're not saying that. What we're saying is be realistic that we have a legitimate chance to get to where we thought we could get in the beginning of the season. And I think what happened, Evan, is people with the injury are just writing us off and saying, well,
they are.
And maybe that's what we needed. I mean, because this is so much falling in line with the year we won the Super Bowl. I mean, it's one of those where it's like the sequel. That's how I'm looking at this. The struggles in the middle of the season that year. I mean, honestly, to that year, Evan, it was around the same time I didn't think the Packers had a chance to make the playoffs with those 3 games remaining that we had to win. And that's right. And again, what happened? Rodgers got hurt. Flynn had to go in. Everybody said we're done. Now, granted, this injury is a lot more significant. It's not a concussion.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of the similar situation, and it's almost like Super Bowl sequel for the Packers. Because you and I both know if this team gets hot, they're going to be tough.
Yeah.
So,
and with the bowling ball like Eddie Lacy in the backfield, when the temperatures start getting cold, no one's going to want to tackle him.
No, that guy's a beast. The guy runs hard now, and the guy just punishes tacklers. I mean, you can tell now people don't want to tackle him. They're going to want to tackle him in 10-degree weather? No, I wouldn't want to. Then again, I'm just a little guy anyway, but I'd get run over and killed. But, other than that. But I think we had another great ramble today, Evan. Anything else you want to leave the fans with before we let you get off to the Badger basketball game?
Well, we want to expand our topics a little bit. You know, we're not, obviously, Packers are what we know extremely well, but it's not all we know. You know, we're Packer fans, but, you know, if you want us to discuss something sports related, it can, you know, I'm not that strong on soccer, so you'd have to take the lead on that, being a former soccer player.
Evan.
Any topic you want to send it our way, and I don't mind doing a ramble on it.
Yeah.
We compete because the Major League Baseball should be naming their MVP very soon, so we can even be open to discuss a ramble on that. So just keep tweeting at us, keep shooting us questions, and you know we're happy to do this.
Exactly. Just to play off that, Evan, you had to throw the soccer thing out. Remember, we're in the USA. We're probably not going to get any rambles about soccer going on.
I figured that, but I don't want to throw any questions out at us you can think of. And next thing you know, they're asking us about Manchester United and the whatever league they're in. I would be looking stupid then. So I'd be and you'd be the expert.
Well, I'll tell you though, next summer the World Cup. And I know you and I will be doing this ramble. You and I aren't giving this up, so we'll be talking World Cup when it comes on. And what I'll do then is I'll just prepare you in the pre-chat. I'll tell you what to say if it comes to that soccer part. But
I'm gonna have to do my homework.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes we always have to do our homework. But
yeah, that is true.
But again, just for everybody listening, we do appreciate it. We love the Twitter interaction. Evan and I love it. Like I said, this is now going to be the Red Light Sports Ramble is now co-hosted with Evan Watalis, and it will be very rare that I do a single episode without Evan. We're trying to put this together as a co-hosted show. And again, Evan, I thank you for doing it because I love chatting with you, bud.
Thanks for the invite. About a little over a month ago? Thanks for that invite.
Yeah, I mean, it started off, and I think you and I talked about this, started off a little bit kind of business-like, hey, let's just get right to the topics, but now it's getting into, these are becoming very fluent rambles, getting a lot of Twitter interaction, getting a lot of questions from Twitter. I mean, our Twitter talk really took off, and I think that's when you and I decided we need to do this more. And so the reason we're doing it, folks, is because you guys are listening, you guys are giving us input. We appreciate the support, and with that said, Evan, I'm going to let the listeners go. So we'll see you guys at the next red light. Talk to you tomorrow.